Welcome back to Adrian's Avenue, and this is a channel where we help you make better decisions for a better life. We like to focus on those kind of topics. And today, you've probably heard of the wealth transfer. You've probably heard, I know I've heard prophecies about it. I've read articles about it. But what is the big deal about this wealth transfer, and how can we tap into it more importantly? Stay tuned. We're going to jump right into it. Okay, the word wealth transfer basically means it's transferring your finances, your assets from one person to someone else, or from one area to somewhere else. For example, if the parents transfer their wealth when they pass on through a will or a trust from them to their children, that's a wealth transfer. That's going from one party to another party that hadn't had access to the finances and the wealth that they had, assets, resources, whatever they had. So this is a form of wealth transfer. Sometimes wealth is transferred, such as if someone wins the lottery, it's transferred from that lottery winning company to the person who actually won it. So it increases their wealth on their end, and that wealth is just transferred over. And in some cases, especially during a recession and coming out of a recession, wealth is transferred from people that may have had the wealth, may have mismanaged it, over to someone who may be more responsible or in the position where they can actually take on and maybe purchase some wealth in that way for a very low cost. But we're going to get into some of these things because this wealth transfer keeps coming up, and we don't know exactly what it is. We want to know what it is and how it's going to affect us. The one thing that I was reading about as far as the wealth transfer is concerned is the transfer from the baby boomers to that next generation, the next two generations. And the article was talking about over the next 20 years, this is going to be the greatest wealth transfer that's ever happened before, because baby boomers, they are transferring the wealth over to their next generation and that next generation. So they will be inheriting lots of wealth. The wealthiest people right now really are the baby boomers. Even with selling houses, I'm selling some of the baby boomers' houses. They're moving into different areas, turning the property over to their children. But there are various ways that this wealth can be transferred, and we just need to be prepared. Also, since we're sitting potentially up on a recession, that may be another opportunity for wealth to be transferred from one area to another group of people. The story that comes up when we start talking about wealth transfers is the contrast between the Rockefellers and the Vanderbilts. If you've heard that story before, just hold on just for a little bit. But the Rockefellers were known back in the late 1800s for their oil, and they became very rich. One of the first families to become billionaires back then because of the oil and what they had going on. However, we still remember the Rockefellers' names, and they're still rich. It's about $10.23 billion across a multitude of families that was inherited this during the transfer of this wealth to their children and children's children. So that money stayed in the family, right? So the way this was done is through trust and wills, and them teaching that next generation actually how to handle this massive amount of wealth that they were going to get transferred over to them. So they knew what to do with it. Certain things, I'm sure they could not sell, certain things that they had to do certain things with in order to maintain that wealth and manage it well. Contrast the Vanderbilts, we don't hear a lot about them because they were wealthy too. Back in the late 1800s, they were both wealthy. But when the wealth was transferred over, the kids at that time squandered the money. Maybe some drinking was done, some other things were done, and they lost the money. So they're not, known for holding on to their riches. And there are actually books written on these two families, contrasting the two. The Rockefellers have trust out there. They have bank accounts. They have things that transferred that money over, held it within the family, so that the generations could profit off of them, to the point where the interest, the generations are profiting off of the interest and living off of that. So they have a big fund of money that's not even being touched, and it will continue to be transferred to later and later and later generations. This is a lot of what we need to know about as far as generational wealth and the wealth transfer. We need to, number one, make sure our kids and our children's children know about the money that's being transferred to them, as well as what to do with it. And that's what we're going to talk about in just a few minutes. This great wealth transfer, which will be transferring the money from the baby boomers to the next generations, is a big deal. And it's about $84 trillion of money that's going to be transferred over to the next generations. That's a lot of money. And the thing is, if the next generations are taught how to handle this money, they will set themselves up to be financially independent, financially stable, and basically getting a foot up on the next life that they're going to be living, because they have a foundation to start on that the baby boomers may not have had at that point in time. So this is a big deal, the great wealth transfer, and it's going to happen over the next 20 years. So if you're a baby boomer, you'll probably be transferring some of that money, land, houses over to the next generations. If you are part of those next generations, pay attention and learn a few things so that you can maintain that wealth and continue to pass it on through inheritance to your children's children. The interesting thing about this transfer is that it's going on actually right now, and some of the kids, some of the next generations don't even recognize that it's going on. But let me just tell you what's happening, because the transfer is not like you think, a big load of money being left when somebody actually passes on. Let's talk about a couple of ways that it's going on. Number one, the wealth is being transferred by the parents paying for the students' schools. So this is a great way to transfer wealth over, because the kids won't have that bill when they come out of college. Another way it's being transferred with parents paying for and buying houses for the children. Once the children are out, or maybe they bought a house and then just willed it over to the child or gave it over to the child before they actually pass on. And this is another way of transferring that wealth. Another way of transferring the wealth is parents are paying for weddings. Now, this is not a suggestion for parents to go out and buy any of this or transfer any of this over, but this is a means of this wealth being transferred over while the parents are still living, while these baby boomers are still living. And then there is, and I know this to be true because I've heard several of my friends do this, but there's multi-generational travel. People are getting on boats, sponsoring, overseas trips for the families. And this is costing money, but the parents, they're paying for it. So they're wanting to enjoy some time, and they're willing to pay tens of thousands of dollars for the whole family to get together to go somewhere overseas or on a cruise or somewhere like that. It's memories that they're buying, a good time with the family that they're paying for. But this is a part of that wealth transfer, because the kids are not asked to pay for any of this. This is something that the parents are donating and doing for the kids. So if your folks are paying for houses, if they're paying for college, if they're paying for weddings, if they're taking you on trips, this is a part of that wealth transfer. Be grateful that you have, the resources to give to your children, and children, be grateful that your parents are including you in on these, and enjoy what they're giving you and be thankful for what they're giving you, because this wealth transfer is happening right now. Now, let's discuss briefly what really needs to happen to make this wealth transfer very effective, efficient, and easy. First of all, you need to sit down with your kids, your children, your adults, and visit with them about the money that you have dialogue, open and honest dialogue about the money that you have, or what's going to be transferring over to them, and their responsibilities and what you expect for them to do with it. Such as, if you have some rental property, if you have a vacation home somewhere, and something were to happen to you and your wife, and the wealth is transferred, or these homes are transferred to your children, make sure they understand what's out there, how to handle it, what your wishes are for them to do with it. If you want them to keep it, if you want them to sell it, whatever you want them to do with it, and then what you expect for them to do, be responsible with that money. Have this dialogue, answer the questions that they may have. Now, after you give it over to them, it's on them, but at least they will know your wishes as far as what you wanted them to do with it. And talk to them about if you want to maintain a certain amount of it within the family, keep the family name and keep that wealth going on. So these are conversations that you need to have with whoever's going to be inheriting what you have, your resources, your assets, your finances, your property, whatever it is, the wealth that you have to pass on to that next generation. Make sure they understand and set those expectations down as far as what you want to explain to them, how hard you had to work for this or what you had to do to get it. They may have been just young, little kids, and they may not know what you had to go through to get this, but they would be more appreciative if they understood everything you want them to know about this wealth transfer before something happens and they're called in and the will is read or the trust is read and they have no idea what you really wanted them to do with this wealth that you're transferring to them. The next thing that you want to do before this wealth is transferred, of course, is make sure you have a mechanism for it to be transferred, such as wills, such as trust, such as things like that. And talk about taxes, because taxes, there will be tax implications when you transfer a certain amount of money over to that next generation. So if a will is the way that you want to transfer it, talk to attorneys that are good in making wills and trusts. They will lead you down the right direction. If a trust is what you want to do, a trust fund, set that up, and they will lead you down that direction. Talk to an attorney that's specific for your state, because it's easier in some states to do wills and have it probated than it's easier in other states and more cost effective to do will trust and have the finances transferred like that. So talk to your attorney for your state to see what's best for you. They will lay out the plan of how much it costs right now, how much it could potentially cost later on, and then you can decide what you want to do. And also how much you have to transfer over. If it's a lot of stuff and a lot of different compartments, you probably want to look at a trust. But I'm not an attorney, so talk to your attorney and get that advice. Also talk to your tax professional to see what they suggest as far as the wealth being transferred over and tax implications, so that your children will know what's going to go on and you'll have a smooth transfer over, even though you're not here to see it. And the last thing that you want to do is educate your heirs as far as how to handle the money. Sometimes they just don't know. Sometimes they were never taught. If you don't train them up in this manner, which is what the Rockefellers did with their children. They were probably there interning and training up and seeing what the folks was going through when they were actually making this money, become a part of that business. Have family meetings about money. Teach them young about budget, teach them about debt, teach them about saving, teach them about investing. So when they grow older, they will know these things and it won't be such a hard conversation. But make sure they are well educated on how to make smart decisions with the amount that you're transferring over to them. They could get $1 million life policy, right? That's transferred over tax-free. What are they going to do with that $1 million that they get from the life policy? So these are things that they need to know. They need to know what they're inheriting, as well as what to do with it when they get the money, how to handle it, how to make it work for them. You could put them on a path that they never have to work again. You could put them on a path that they don't have to worry about money again. So you're leveling them up on a different situation than what we were on. So make sure you educate them on what they need to do once that wealth is transferred over to them. Do me a favor and transfer me some love. Hit that like button and that subscribe button so that you can stay up to date on the latest information as it becomes available to you. And leave some comments. Maybe you've gotten some wealth transferred to you, or maybe you have some wealth to transfer on. What mechanisms are you using? A will or trust, life policies? What is it? Let me know down in the comments. Okay, now we're going to shift to a different kind of wealth that we could all potentially benefit from. And if we are going into a recession, because that's not totally ruled out right now, but if America goes into a recession, how can we benefit from that? Certain things happen in a recession. Sometimes the stock market actually dips. And when I say dip, it goes down. The prices of the stocks will go down. And they will go down because we're in a recession. Has nothing to do with the company necessarily being bad or something going wrong with the company, but because people are fearful and afraid. The stock market is often ruled by popular opinion and the fear of what may happen out there, and it will cause the stock prices to shift. Such as, and this is just an example, this is not telling you to do anything in specific, but let's say we go into a recession and Apple stocks falls. Okay, the company, if you look at it and if it's still strong, if it's still run by the person you want it to be run by, if it's still a solid company in all ways, by looking at their prospectus and seeing how the company's doing, listening, researching, doing your due diligence before you do anything. However, the stocks falls from, let's say, $230 to $150. That may be an opportunity to go out and start buying Apple stock, because it's the stock isn't bad, the company isn't bad. We're just in a recession, and this is like shoes going on sale, ladies, or golf clubs going on sale, or a trip going on sale, something going on sale, cars going on sale, that it's not the price that it used to be. It's a better price, and you can actually win on the deal if you go ahead and purchase it, right? But this is an asset. So this is an asset where if you purchase it at 150, then we go through the recession, and shortly after the recession, it's been historically proven that stocks shoot back up. So what if it goes back from 150 to 200? You just made $50 on each share of stock that you bought with Apple. So this is the way wealth is transferred, you all. Pay attention to what's going on in the stock market. Pay attention to those good companies if that's what you want to do. And you can benefit when a recession hits. There are several other ways you can benefit too. Another way you can benefit is sometimes in a recession, people who bought houses for a price that they should not have paid for, and the recession hits or they start losing their jobs, all of a sudden they can't afford these properties. And the bank really doesn't want houses back. They're not in the real estate business. They're in the lending business and making money off of loans. Well, it's going to cost them money to do something with this house. So if it does get foreclosed on, it's going to cost them money. If they do a short sale or something like that, it's not going to cost them as much money, so they're more willing to work. But the opportunity is for you, if you're in a position where you have cash and you have good credit and you can get a loan if you need one on some of these properties, now is the time to purchase. I bought several properties that were either HUD-owned properties, foreclosures. Pretty much all of my properties I bought like that, or I bought as a new property, and they were great, given great deals and had just great incentives on the new property and a great commission for the realtor. So, but most of my deals came like that. So I walked into situations with equity already built into the properties that I bought. So this is another key thing, that if we go into a recession, keep your eye out on ways that you can take advantage. Yes, it's someone's misfortune, but you didn't put them in that situation, and someone's going to take advantage of it. So if you're at the situation that your debt is paid down, you have your emergency fund, and you have money sitting to invest, and the right opportunity comes along, now's the time to jump on it. That's the way wealth is transferred over, you all, from someone else to you, because of a misfortune situation, a recession comes up, but you're standing in a position that you can actually help the bank out or help that person out, get that off of their shoulders, and gain yourself in the near future for these. You may not gain 100% because, as realtors all know, and as investors know, you make your money when you buy. You get it when you sell. So you want the very best deals when you're purchasing property. And if you can get something that's undervalued that you can maybe put a little work into and bring that value back up, you're winning. So this is another area that we can take advantage of in the recession and have this wealth transfer over to us. Now, one last thing I'll talk to you about as far as wealth transfers. So when we're in a recession, or even when COVID hit back in 2020, all of a sudden ideas start coming out, ways to solve problems, ways to help people, ways to make money, because people are willing to pay for things to make the time of learning shorter, get to somewhere faster, save money, maybe health benefits, anything that will benefit them. They are willing to pay for it. If it took me 10 years to learn something and I can teach it to you and you can know it within a matter of 3 hours, that should be valuable to you. I know it'd be valuable to me because I don't want to take 10 years to learn something that someone can teach me in a matter of an hour, a day, or something like that, and save me 10 years. We know how important time is. So people are willing to pay to do that. And when a recession hits or something is down and you have your mind and not a lot of money, you start thinking of things that can actually help people, thinking of things that can actually gain you wealth and have that wealth transfer from somebody else to you. We've heard of stories throughout the years of people down on their luck or had an idea, opened up some type of food truck, and all of a sudden now they have restaurants all over the city. We've heard of this before, so it's not impossible, but it takes a little time. It takes backing away from the TV, backing away from social media, scrolling on social media, and using this to think of ideas and things that can actually help you and your family. So this wealth transfer is up on us. It's not a fairy tale. It's not a fable. It's actually something that's going on right now and will be going on for the next 20 or so years. So grab your opportunity if it's out there. If someone's going to leave something to you, thank them for it and make sure you do the right thing with what they leave you, because they've worked hard for that and you don't just want to just squander it away. Be thankful. The best way that you can thank them is do the right thing with what they're leaving you. With that, I will see you in the next video.